Okay, well, let's get back to the G7 and Donald Trump's attendance. Ben Rowswell is a former Canadian diplomat. He served this country for many years, including serving as ambassador to Venezuela. These days, he's now convener of the Circle for Democratic Solidarity. Ben, thanks for joining the program again.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
So listen, a lot to talk about because, the gathering in Kananaskis next week is already proving to be controversial, beginning with the attendance of Donald Trump. We just spoke to former MP Charlie Angus. He wants Canadians to raise their voices, essentially, short of disinviting the U.S. president. He wants Canadians to express their concerns about what is happening south of the border. So I'll begin there. Should Canada and other members of the G7 be making any kind of statement about the actions that we're seeing in the United States right now?
The G7 is a group of liberal democracies. This is what makes us effective as an international grouping. It's that ability to come together around shared interests and shared values, the shared way that we see the world. And so when one of our countries acts in a way that's not consistent with the principles of democracy, I do think it's appropriate. Now, it probably wouldn't be in the group announcement that's made, which is called the communique. That's the main output of any G7 summit. Obviously, that would require the United States to criticize itself. So this is probably not the moment. But what's happening in the United States is extremely worrisome, not just for American citizens and the basic human rights that are under threat now, but also for America's partnership with the rest of the world. It's been predicated on a system of government that we had shared up until recently. And now that that's no longer the case, it does place the international relationships the United States have in question. And yeah, I do think that should be made explicit.
Made explicit. I'm wondering about the discussion of, Charlie was talking about calling it the G6, everyone but the United States, because I wonder for the G6 then, how important is this meeting for the democratic world? Because, the last time we spoke, you noted the fact that the United States is walking away from its traditional role as leader and defender of liberal democratic values and order. So what opportunities does this meeting in Kananaskis then present for the other countries of the G7?
So there's a tremendously high stakes for the cohesion of liberal democracies and our ability to make decisions together. We assure our security by working together with other liberal democracies. We assure our prosperity by working together. So the capacity of those 6 plus the European Commission, which actually still means 7, the capacity that we have as liberal democracies to keep working together is absolutely essential. Donald Trump may walk out of the summit. That's what he did last time when he was at a summit hosted by Canada. We need to anticipate that and be able to continue to take decisions of the remaining liberal democratic countries together. So in that sense, I do think it's essential that those countries maintain their ability to work together, and that will be a key test for the success of the Kananaskis Summit.
Yeah, a key test, as you say. So what then do you make of the very fact that, for example, Narendra Modi is invited to attend, the Indian Prime Minister, because, India is the world's 4th or 5th largest economy in the world. But is it problematic that Prime Minister Modi has been invited while India stands accused of harassing Canadian citizens on Canadian soil and agents of that country accused of murder in this country in Harjit Singh Nijjar?
Well, I should say that the criminal investigation does continue, and that Prime Minister Carney announced that he was able to extract that concession from the Indian government, that there will actually be law enforcement cooperation, something that India had previously refused. They'd refused to talk to the RCMP or to even receive some of the evidence that had come forward. So there was that. Now, this is extremely serious. I mean, it's so rare in international relations for one country to be accused of murdering the citizens of another on its own soil that it can never be minimized. That's got to be taken extremely seriously. But the fact that Prime Minister Modi has been invited into coming, I think, is actually a reflection that the stakes for Canada and for Canadians are even higher now that we have the United States breaking from our ranks. The fundamental pillars of Canada's prosperity and sovereignty, the grouping of liberal democratic states and the extremely tight embrace that we've had for 80 years is coming apart. And in order for the remaining liberal democracies to be able to effectively take decisions together, we need to be able to present a common front when we're approaching other major powers. And that's, I think, what's really at stake in the invitation to Modi. It's not to say, we recognize you as a liberal democracy along as our side, because it's not a liberal democracy. India itself shows some worrying signs of authoritarian rule, but it is a major world power. And if we are going to combine our forces as liberal democratic countries and economies, we need to be able to speak with one voice to India, to the United States, and I should say, to some of the other countries that are also invited to attend the G7 summit.
Yeah, you say other countries, and of course I'm thinking about Saudi Arabia and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, because that's an invitation that's been extended and also proving to be controversial. Talk to us about that invitation and what the G7 needs to be doing there.
So the G7 has an economic agenda as well as a political agenda. And at the top of the economic agenda is energy security, and that would be the conversation to have with Saudi Arabia. I think the more significant discussions that will happen will be those with fellow liberal democracies. So I'm extremely pleased that Mexico has agreed to come. I hope this puts an end to the really short-sighted and kind of foolish suggestions that somehow we should jettison our relationship with Mexico and pursue a bilateral deal with the United States. That would be exactly what President Trump wants us to do, which is to divide us and conquer us. So hopefully we can repair some of the damage done to the Canadian relationship with Mexico because of the reimposition of visas. If we could remove those visas, even better, because we really do need to have Mexico in our corner in some of the struggles ahead. I should also point out that Prime Minister Albanese, freshly re-elected after opposing some of the hostile moves by the American government against the Australian economy as well, will be coming there. So some similarities in the kind of political situation between Australia and Canada, an opportunity to develop some new bonds. And we have the president of South Africa coming shortly after he suffered a humiliation in the White House. And I think this is an opportunity for the liberal democratic countries of the world to show our solidarity with South Africa and our rejection of the way that President Ramaphosa was treated by President Trump.
So a lot to be watching for as the world leaders gather in Kananaskis. Ben, always appreciate the time. Thank you for this.
Always a pleasure.